Ever look up at the stars and wonder what kinds of amazing civilizations might be out there? Well, in a galaxy far, far away, we've got 16 incredible answers to that question. And trust me, they're going to blow your mind. We're about to journey from the deepest oceans to the highest treetops, meeting societies that'll make you rethink everything you know about civilization. Want to see cities made of bubbles? We've got those. How about warriors who can bend shadows with magic? Got those too. And wait until you meet the culture that builds their technology by growing it. Think about the most unusual family you know. Now imagine a civilization where anyone can join, no matter what species they are, as long as they follow the ancient code. That's the Mandalorians for you, not a species, but a creed, wearing some of the most legendary armor in the galaxy. You'll meet the Gungans, who've mastered technology that would make even the brightest minds on Coruscant scratch their heads. And the clone troopers. Now there's a story you won't believe. Imagine millions of soldiers who are actually the same person, each one developing their own unique personality. Talk about family drama. We're going to places you wouldn't believe exist. Tatooine has not one, but two completely different civilizations surviving in some of the harshest deserts you can imagine. Want to see what happens when tiny forest dwellers take down an entire empire? The Ewoks have got a story for you. Some of these civilizations build their homes underwater, others high up in trees that touch the clouds. Some have mastered the art of spaceship building, while others prefer the simple life. But don't let that fool you. As the Empire learned the hard way, sometimes the simplest societies pack the biggest surprises. From mysterious species that live for centuries and master the Force, to engineering geniuses who can build planet-destroying weapons, each of these 16 civilizations has shaped the galaxy in their own unique way. Some fought for freedom, others chose to stay neutral, and a few, well, let's just say, they had their own ideas about law and order. Get ready for a journey that'll take you to the furthest corners of the galaxy. These aren't just stories about different species or cultures. These are tales of survival, innovation, and the incredible ways life finds to thrive among the stars. Trust me, by the time we're done, you'll never look at civilization the same way again. Beneath the peaceful waters of Naboo lives one of the galaxy's most fascinating civilizations. The Gungans have built an entire world in their underwater realm, and what they've achieved there is remarkable. Their cities aren't just structures, they're living, breathing examples of what happens when nature and technology work as one. The Gungan capital of Otoh stands as a testament to their ingenuity. Massive hydrostatic bubbles, glowing with a golden light, create a network of spherical buildings that seem to float in the deep waters. These aren't simple barriers against the ocean. They're engineering marvels that have puzzled even the finest minds on Coruscant. What sets the Gungans apart is their approach to technology. While most civilizations construct their tools from metal and circuitry, the Gungans have developed something entirely different: biotechnology. They grow their devices, nurture them, and create technology that's in perfect harmony with the natural world. Their plasma shields showed just how sophisticated this approach can be. By harvesting plasma from Naboo's core and containing it within living membranes, they've created defensive systems that can protect everything from individual warriors to entire armies. It's an elegant solution that demonstrates how working with nature rather than against it can lead to remarkable innovations. But there's another side to Gungan society that often surprises people: their warrior culture. These aren't just peaceful undersea dwellers. Their grand army is a force to be reckoned with, combining their unique technology with defensive military capabilities developed in response to external threats. Their warriors specialize in underwater combat, though they can adapt their tactics to surface warfare when needed. Mounted on their powerful Cardu steeds, with energy shields glowing and electropoles charged, a Gungan cavalry charge is an impressive sight indeed. The relationship between the Gungans and their surface neighbors, the Naboo humans, tells an important story about cultural understanding. For generations, these two societies lived in mutual distrust. The Naboo saw only primitive swamp dwellers, while the Gungans viewed their surface neighbors as arrogant outsiders. It took a planetary crisis, the Trade Federation invasion, to bring these two peoples together, revealing the strength that comes from cooperation. Gungan society operates under a unique form of leadership. Their ruler, known as the Boss, leads their society through a combination of inherited authority and political influence. The design of their cities reflects their cultural values. Their cities consist of multiple hydrostatic bubbles, some connected and others standing independently. In the technological landscape of the galaxy, the Gungans stand out for their distinctive path. While others push forward with mechanical and electronic advancement, they've discovered ways to develop sophisticated technology that works in perfect harmony with their environment. Their plasma shields, organic computers, and living architecture prove that advancement doesn't have to come at the cost of natural balance. The Gungans teach us an important lesson about judging societies by appearances. Behind what some might dismiss as primitive lies a civilization that has mastered sophisticated biotechnology, developed unique military strategies, and built sustainable cities in one of the most challenging environments imaginable. Their story reminds us that true advancement isn't just about building bigger or better machines. It's about finding ways to progress that respect and enhance the natural world around us. In their underwater cities, the Gungans continue to thrive and evolve, showing that there's more than one path to building an advanced civilization. They've found their own way forward, one that bridges the gap between natural and technological progress, creating something truly unique in the galaxy. The story of the Mandalorians isn't like any other civilization you've heard of. Forget everything you think you know about how societies work, because the Mandalorians break all the rules. They're not bound by blood, they're not tied to one species, and they don't care what planet you're from. What matters to them is something much simpler: following their way. Think about that for a second. Most civilizations are built around being born into them. You're born a Twi'leks, you're born a Wookiee, you're born on Coruscant. But Mandalorians? They choose their members. Anyone can become a Mandalorian if they're willing to live by the code. It doesn't matter if you're human, Twi'leks, or any other species. If you can follow their ways, you can join their ranks. Their homeworld, Mandalore, tells you everything you need to know about these people. It's a harsh place with massive domed cities rising up from a war-torn desert. But here's the thing. You don't even need to be from Mandalore to be a Mandalorian. The planet is more like their spiritual home, a symbol of their resilience. Let's talk about their armor, because it's not just for show. That shiny metal they wear, that's Beskar iron, and it's practically indestructible. But what's really cool is how they use their armor to tell their stories. Every color means something. Where blue, you're showing you're dependable. Red, you're honoring your father. Yellow, you're seeking vengeance. Green, you're telling everyone about your dedication to your clan or family. It's like wearing your life story for everyone to see. And here's something that might blow your mind. Mandalorians are incredibly private people who rarely show their faces, yet their armor speaks volumes about who they are. Think about that paradox. They're hidden behind helmets, but wearing their hearts on their armor. Now, when it comes to family, Mandalorians do things differently. They have this thing called Aliyit, their word for clan and family. But forget traditional family trees. A Mandalorian clan might include a former soldier, a rescued orphan, and a retired bounty hunter, all treated like blood relatives. They have a saying, family is more than blood, and they mean it. One of the hallmarks of the Mandalorian culture is the darksaber. This is a black-bladed lightsaber that has become the symbol of who gets to lead all Mandalorians. But you can't just inherit it or buy it. You must win it in combat from its previous wielder. That's the only legitimate way to claim leadership through the darksaber. People often think Mandalorians are just warriors, but that's like saying a library is just a bunch of paper. There's so much more to them. Sure, they're incredible fighters, but they're also deeply spiritual people who believe in living life by a strict code of honor. They follow the Rezolnar, their sacred code that guides every aspect of Mandalorian life. It's pretty straightforward. Wear the armor, speak the language, defend yourself and your family, raise your kids as Mandalorians, help your clan, and rally when the leader calls. Training starts young for Mandalorians, but it's not just about learning to fight. Young Mandalorians learn everything from their native language to survival skills. It's like going to school, but instead of math and science, you're learning how to be part of this ancient warrior culture. The Mandalorians have been through some rough times. During something called the Great Purge, the Empire tried to wipe them out. They melted down their armor and scattered their people across the galaxy. But here's what makes Mandalorians special. You can't kill their culture by destroying their stuff or even their numbers. As long as one person remembers their ways and teaches them to others, the Mandalorians survive. These days, you'll find Mandalorians doing all sorts of jobs. Some are bounty hunters, others are peacekeepers. Some never take off their helmets in front of others, while some are more relaxed about the old ways. But they all share the same core beliefs about honor, loyalty, and standing up for what's right. What makes the Mandalorians truly fascinating is how they manage to stick to their ancient traditions while constantly changing with the times. They're warriors who value peace, loners who believe in community, and traditionalists who aren't afraid of change. In a galaxy full of different species and civilizations, they've built something unique, a culture that doesn't care about what you are, only who you choose to be. Maybe that's the biggest lesson we can learn from the Mandalorians. They prove that civilization isn't about where you're born or what you look like. It's about the choices you make and the values you live by. In a galaxy that often divides people based on their species or homeworld, the Mandalorians show us a different way. They show us that family, honor, and tradition aren't about what you're born into. They're about what you choose to become. And maybe that's why their famous saying is so simple, yet so powerful. This is the way. Because for Mandalorians, it all comes down to following a path you believe in. standing by your family, whether they're related by blood or not, and living with honor. In a complicated galaxy, sometimes the strongest foundations are built on the simplest truths. On the lush planet of Kashyyyk, where ancient Roshia trees stretch kilometers into the sky, the Wookiees have built something extraordinary. Their civilization exists in perfect balance between nature and progress, reaching from the forest floor all the way up to the sunlit crowns of their massive trees. A Wookiee city is unlike anything else in the galaxy. Imagine entire neighborhoods woven into the branches of trees so large their trunks could house starship hangars. These aren't simple tree houses. They're sophisticated communities that blend seamlessly into their forest environment. The Wookiees have mastered the art of building in harmony with living trees, creating platforms, walkways, and homes that become part of the forest itself. The Roshia trees tell us everything we need to know about Wookiee innovation. These ancient giants provide the foundation of Wookiee civilization. The Wookiees have learned to cultivate and shape these trees without ever harming them, a sophisticated process that's been refined over thousands of generations. But what's really fascinating about Wookiees is how often people underestimate them. Sure, they might look imposing with their great height and strength, and their language might sound like roars to most of us. But behind that fierce appearance lies one of the galaxy's most technologically adept societies. Wookiee engineers are highly skilled at both maintaining and improving technology. They can take apart and reassemble a hyperdrive with remarkable expertise, showing the same precision in their technical work as they do in their traditional crafts. Speaking of strength, let's talk about Wookiee physical capabilities. A Wookiee's natural strength would be impressive enough on its own, but they combine it with surprising agility. They can climb their massive trees with ease, swing between branches that would make others dizzy, and still handle delicate technical work with remarkable precision. Their powerful arms can rip droids apart when needed, but they're just as capable of performing intricate repairs on the most sophisticated machinery. Their society is built on a foundation of honor that runs deeper than their Roshia tree's roots. A Wookiee's word is their bond, and their life-debt tradition shows just how seriously they take their obligations. When a Wookiee pledges a life debt to someone who has saved them, it's not just a simple thank you. It's a sacred promise that becomes part of who they are. The complexity of Wookiee culture often surprises people. Their cities span different levels of the Roshia trees, each area serving the needs of their community. While they build throughout the forest canopy, they respect the dangers of Kashyyyk's lowest levels, areas so perilous that even Wookiees seldom venture there. Their civilization has adapted to thrive in the middle and upper levels of their forest world, creating a unique vertical society. Technology plays a fascinating role in Wookiee culture. They're not just users of advanced technology, they're innovators who've learned to integrate modern conveniences with their traditional way of life. Wookiee computer systems are sophisticated, and their engineering skills are sought after throughout the galaxy. Yet, they choose to maintain their traditional way of life, proving that embracing technology doesn't mean abandoning your roots. Their relationship with the Republic tells us a lot about Wookiee values. They've been loyal allies not because they need protection, but because they believe in standing with their friends. During the Clone Wars, Kashyyyk became a vital strategic location, and the Wookiees fought alongside Republic forces with characteristic bravery and skill. Their cities in the trees became fortresses, showing how their unique architecture could serve both peaceful and defensive purposes. The Wookiee understanding of their ecosystem goes beyond simple conservation. They've learned which levels of their forest are safe for building and which support the best game for hunting. This knowledge has been passed down through generations, combining practical wisdom with scientific understanding. One of the most remarkable things about Wookiee civilization is how they've maintained their traditions while mastering modern technology. Take their unique weapons. Working alongside the Gungans species, they developed the bowcaster, a weapon that perfectly represents their technological capabilities. These aren't simple crossbows. They're sophisticated energy weapons that showcase Wookiee ingenuity and their ability to collaborate with others. The Empire learned the hard way not to underestimate Wookiee capabilities. When they tried to enslave these powerful beings, they discovered that Wookiee technological skill and physical strength made them formidable opponents. The Wookiees' ability to use their forest home to their advantage, combined with their advanced technical knowledge, turned their tree cities into impossibly difficult territories to control. In the end, what makes Wookiee civilization truly remarkable is how they've found balance in seeming contradictions. They're physically powerful, but gentle by nature. They're technologically advanced, but deeply traditional. They build their cities in trees while maintaining the natural balance of their forest home. The Wookiees remind us that true civilization isn't about choosing between nature and progress. It's about finding ways to honor both. Imagine living on a planet where one side is always scorching hot and the other's frozen in endless night. Sounds impossible, right? Well, for the Twi'leks of Ryloth, that's just home. And what they've done with that home is going to surprise you. Their cities adapt to Ryloth's harsh extremes in remarkable ways. While many settlements sprawl across the planet's thin habitable band between eternal day and night, the Twi'leks have also carved intricate networks of caves and tunnels that provide shelter during the worst of Ryloth's environmental challenges. These aren't just simple hiding spots. They're sophisticated emergency shelters and defensive positions that have helped their civilization survive countless threats. Think of their settlements like a perfect blend of surface living and underground protection. Their main cities feature stunning architecture that rises from the landscape, but each has access to extensive cave networks below. These caves serve as everything from storage facilities to emergency bunkers, proof of how the Twi'leks have learned to use every aspect of their environment to their advantage. But here's where it gets really interesting. The way they've organized these cities tells us everything about how their society works. Twi'lek clans are more like specialized teams in a massive corporation, each with their own unique skills and traditions. Some clans might be master farmers, growing crops in carefully managed zones between the day and night sides. Others might be experts in technology or trade. Together, they form this incredibly efficient network where everyone has their role to play. And their farming? It's nothing short of genius. They've figured out how to grow food in the narrow temperate band of their world, using a combination of traditional methods and advanced technology. These aren't just survival techniques. They're examples of innovation born from necessity. Perhaps the most fascinating thing about the Twi'leks is their comprehensive defense strategy. Those cave networks supplement a sophisticated system of surface fortifications and defensive positions. When threats come calling, these peaceful traders and farmers can transform into one of the most effective resistance forces in the galaxy. The caves provide backup and shelter, while their surface defenses let them stand their ground when needed. Their relationship with the Galactic Republic shows just how clever they are at playing the long game. Sure, they're officially part of the Republic, but they've managed to keep their independence in all the ways that matter. Think of it like being part of a big family. You come to the reunions and help out when needed, but nobody tells you how to run your own household. What really makes the Twi'leks stand out is how they've mastered the art of adapting without losing themselves. They're not stuck in the past, but they're not chasing every new trend either. When they adopt new technology, they do it their way. Imagine taking a smartphone and figuring out how to power it with a water wheel. That's the kind of creative thinking we're talking about. The way they educate their young is just as smart. Kids don't just learn about modern technology and galactic politics. They learn the ancient stories of their clans, the secrets of surviving in their unique environment, and the skills that have kept their civilization thriving for generations. It's like getting a university degree and an apprenticeship all rolled into one. Their cities have become some of the most interesting trading hubs in the galaxy. Picture bustling marketplaces where local goods sit next to items from across the stars. The architecture blends traditional Twi'leks design with practical features that help protect against their world's harsh environment, creating spaces that are both beautiful and functional. Their settlements on other worlds showcase their adaptability. Twi'leks communities across the galaxy maintain their cultural identity while embracing new environments. Their districts feature distinctive architecture that reflects their homeworld's aesthetic while adapting to local conditions. What the Twi'leks have built on Ryloth is more than just a civilization. It's a masterclass in turning problems into opportunities. They didn't just survive in one of the galaxy's harshest environments. They created something extraordinary. Their story shows us that sometimes the most remarkable achievements don't come from having perfect conditions, but from facing challenges head-on and finding creative ways to overcome them. When you really think about it, the Twi'leks have figured out something that many of us are still trying to learn: how to move forward without leaving your roots behind. In their cities, in their complex clan networks, and in their brilliant adaptations, we see a people who've mastered the art of balance. They're proof that you don't need perfect circumstances to build something amazing. You just need ingenuity, determination, and the wisdom to learn from everything around you. On a planet bathed in perpetual crimson twilight, there exists a civilization unlike any other in the galaxy. The Nightsisters of Dathomir harness both their planet's mystical energy and the dark side of the Force itself, creating a potent combination that fuels their formidable powers. Picture a world where the trees glow with an eerie red mist, and ancient stone spires rise from swirling fog. This is Dathomir, and while it might sound like something from a ghost story, it's home to one of the most fascinating cultures you've probably never heard of. The Nightsisters have turned this haunting landscape into their domain, drawing upon both its natural dark side energies and their own connection to the Force. Let's talk about that power for a moment. The Nightsisters are devoted practitioners of the dark side of the Force, but they approach it through their own unique traditions and ceremonies. They practice what they call magic, through a combination of dark side powers rituals, meditation, and their connection to Dathomir itself. They've developed abilities that set them apart from other Force users. Their society structure is just as distinctive as their powers. The Nightsisters operate under a matriarchal system that would make most royal dynasties look disorganized. At the top of their hierarchy sits the Mother, not just a leader, but a keeper of ancient knowledge who guides her sisters with the wisdom of generations. Now, you might be wondering about their daily life. Picture a community where every member has a specific role, but it's not like your typical 9-to-5 job. Young Nightsisters train in both physical combat and mystical arts from an early age. It's like going to a very intense boarding school where your extracurricular activities include learning to channel dark side energies and master combat techniques that have been refined over centuries. Their homes are just as unique as their lifestyle. The Nightsisters live in fortress-like villages that blend seamlessly with Dathomir's natural landscape. These aren't just buildings, they're living monuments to their history. Ancient symbols cover the walls, each telling a story or holding a secret. Imagine if every brick in your house contained a piece of your family's history, and you're starting to get the idea. What makes the Nightsisters truly remarkable is their mastery of both martial and mystical arts. While others pledge allegiance to various factions, the Nightsisters maintain their independence through sheer power and determination. They're like that one friend who always does their own thing, but in this case, they have the dark side of the Force to back it up. Their mastery of the dark side manifests in ways that would make most Sith take notice. The Nightsisters combine traditional Force techniques with their own unique rituals and ceremonies, creating a blend of power that's distinctly their own. Their magic involves everything from complex rituals to intense meditation, all focused on channeling the dark side through their ancient traditions. The way they pass down knowledge is equally fascinating. Instead of written texts or digital records, the Nightsisters rely on oral traditions and practical demonstrations. Important ceremonies and techniques are taught through direct experience, passed from sister to sister in an unbroken chain that stretches back generations. It's like having a living library where each person is both a book and a reader. Their relationship with Dathomir itself is something special to witness. The Nightsisters have learned to harness the planet's natural dark side energies, amplifying their own powers through their connection to their homeworld. This symbiotic relationship has shaped both their abilities and their culture, creating a society uniquely attuned to their environment. Here's what's really interesting about the Nightsisters. Throughout their history, they've been active participants in galactic affairs, using their powers to influence events far beyond Dathomir. They're not content to simply exist in isolation. They've consistently sought to extend their influence when opportunities arise, making them a force to be reckoned with in galactic politics. Cultural festivals celebrate their connection to the dark side with stunning displays of power. These ceremonies aren't just for show, they're demonstrations of their mastery over both traditional Force techniques and their unique applications of dark side energy. Few spectacles in the galaxy can match the sight of Nightsisters channeling their powers in unison. The story of the Nightsisters shows us something important about civilization itself, that true power comes from understanding and embracing your nature completely. In their crimson forests and ancient strongholds, the Nightsisters have built something that stands apart from the usual patterns of galactic society. They remind us that there's always another way of looking at things, even within the established framework of the dark side. In a galaxy often divided by political allegiances and power struggles, the Nightsisters represent the strength that comes from absolute dedication to their chosen path. Their commitment to the dark side, combined with their unique traditions and ceremonies, has created a civilization that commands respect and often fear throughout the galaxy. Hidden beneath the swirling dust storms of Geonosis lies a secret that changed the course of galactic history. Before we talk about Death Stars and superweapons, though, let's understand the brilliant minds behind them. Because the Geonosians are far more than just the galaxy's master builders. Take a walk through any Geonosian hive spire and you'll quickly realize you're experiencing engineering at its finest. These towering structures might look like natural rock formations from a distance, but don't let that fool you. Each spire is a masterpiece of architectural precision, with walls that can withstand the planet's brutal sandstorms while maintaining perfect temperature control inside. The real magic happens in their factories. Remember the most complex assembly line you've ever seen. Now multiply that by 1,000. Geonosian manufacturing facilities operate with an efficiency that makes modern robotics look primitive. Workers move in perfect synchronization, each knowing their role without a word being spoken. It's not just impressive, it's almost hypnotic to watch. But engineering isn't just what they do, it's literally in their DNA. From the moment they hatch, Geonosians are part of a social network that's as precisely engineered as their machines. Calling it a caste system doesn't really do it justice. It's more like a living hive, where each individual serves their role in the greater colony. Their collective mindset is probably the most misunderstood aspect of their civilization. We're not talking about independent thinkers here. Think of it more like a vast colony, where everyone instinctively works toward common goals. While the elite castes maintain some individuality, most Geonosians function as part of the greater whole. Flying through their hive cities is like navigating through a three-dimensional maze where every tunnel and chamber serves a specific purpose. Worker districts pulse with activity, while aristocratic areas display an artistry that would surprise anyone who thinks of Geonosians as mere industrialists. The way they organize their living spaces reflects both their practical nature and their surprising appreciation for geometric precision. The relationship between different castes tells us something fascinating about how societies can function. Warriors, workers, aristocrats. Each group has its own distinct physical characteristics evolved specifically for their role. Natural selection taken to its logical extreme? Maybe. But it works with an efficiency that's hard to argue with. When the Confederacy of Independent Systems came calling, they found willing allies in the Geonosians. Here was a chance to show the galaxy what they could really do. Their factories kicked into high gear, producing battle droids by the millions. But that was just the warm-up act. Their true masterpiece, the Death Star plans, showed just how far ahead of everyone else they were thinking. The thing about Geonosian technology is that it never sacrifices function for form. Those angular lines in their architecture, they're not just for show. They help distribute weight and resist wind pressure. Even their weapons blend geometric precision with deadly efficiency. It's as if they've discovered the mathematical formula for functionality and built it into everything they create. Most beings would find living in their hives uncomfortable, even claustrophobic. But to a Geonosian, These intricate networks of tunnels and chambers are the perfect expression of their collective genius. Every passage is sized just right for their wings, every chamber acoustically tuned to their unique form of communication. Their language itself is a marvel of efficiency, a complex symphony of clicks, hums, and wing movements that carries more information in a few seconds than most beings can communicate in several minutes. Combined with their hive-mind connection, it makes them arguably the most coordinated society in the galaxy. Down in their engineering labs, you'll find innovations that rival the best in the galaxy. They don't just solve problems, they anticipate them. Their designs often include solutions to issues that others might miss. It's like they're playing three-dimensional chess while everyone else is still figuring out checkers. What's truly remarkable about Geonosian civilization is how they've turned limitations into advantages. The harsh environment of their homeworld could have confined them to mere survival. Instead, they've used those challenges to drive innovation, creating a society that's as sustainable as it is advanced. The story of the Geonosians reminds us that true advancement isn't just about building bigger or better machines. It's about creating systems that work in harmony, whether those systems are mechanical, social, or biological. In their hive spires and workshops, they've achieved something rare. A civilization where every piece, from the smallest worker to the grandest arch spire, fits together in perfect engineered precision. They might be best known for building weapons of war, but their greatest creation isn't any single device or structure. It's their civilization itself. The Geonosians have engineered not just machines, but an entire way of life that functions with the precision of a finely tuned mechanism and the adaptability of a living organism. Above endless storms and churning waves, the gleaming cities of Kamino stand as monuments to scientific achievement. Sleek white structures pierce the clouds, defying nature itself, but it's what happens inside these pristine halls that truly sets this civilization apart. Most societies split their attention between dozens of different pursuits, not the Kaminoans. They've taken one field of science, cloning and genetic engineering, and elevated it to an art form. Watching their scientists at work is like seeing master sculptors, except their medium isn't clay or marble. It's life itself. Step into any Kaminoan facility, and the first thing that strikes you is the absolute precision of everything. These aren't just laboratories, they're symphonies of scientific excellence where every movement, every procedure follows a rhythm perfected over generations. The stark white corridors and perfectly controlled environments might seem cold to outsiders, but to a Kaminoan, this is what perfection looks like. The way they approach genetic science would make most advanced civilizations' heads spin. While others debate the ethics of adjusting a single gene, Kaminoan scientists routinely choreograph intricate dances of DNA, creating exactly the traits their clients desire. It's like they're composing biological poetry, where every sequence has meaning and purpose. Their cities tell us just as much about who they are as their scientific achievements. Rising high above violent seas on impossibly tall stilts, each platform city is an engineering marvel in its own right. Why build on such a hostile ocean world? For the Kaminoans, the constant storms aren't a challenge, they're inspiration. The rhythmic pounding of waves and flash of lightning are as much a part of their civilization as their genetic databases. Most people know about their creation of the Republic's clone army, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Every clone trooper represents countless generations of refinement, each genetic sequence tested and perfected until it's exactly right. Think of it as crafting a masterpiece, but instead of spending years on a single work of art, they're creating millions of perfectly engineered individuals. Their own society reflects the precision of their work. Kaminoan culture is built on subtle distinctions that outsiders might miss entirely. The length of their neck, the shade of their skin, even the way they move. Every detail indicates their role and status. It's like they've applied their understanding of genetics to their entire social structure. Education takes on a whole new meaning in Kaminoan society. Young Kaminoans don't just learn, they're guided through carefully designed programs that shape not just their knowledge, but their way of thinking. Picture the most advanced science academy you can imagine, then add several layers of sophistication. That's a typical day of learning on Kamino. The storms that rage outside their cities serve another purpose. They're the ultimate security system. Those few visitors who make it through the tempests find themselves in a world where every aspect of life is measured, analyzed, and optimized. Even their art reflects this precision, with designs that seem to flow like strands of DNA. Their approach to technology goes beyond mere functionality. In a Kaminoan facility, you won't find a single tool that hasn't been refined to absolute perfection. The curved lines of their architecture aren't just aesthetic choices. They're calculated to create the ideal environment for their work. Every surface, every instrument serves a specific purpose while maintaining an elegant simplicity. Communication among Kaminoans might seem detached to outsiders, but there's a fascinating complexity to their interactions. Their precise, methodical way of speaking can convey complex scientific concepts efficiently and clearly. It's as if they've streamlined conversation the same way they've perfected their cloning processes. The relationship between Kaminoans and their creations reveals something profound about their civilization. They're not just scientists producing products. They're business-like perfectionists who view cloning as both a science and a profitable enterprise. Each successful clone batch is evaluated not just for its military potential, but for its technical precision and market value. Their data storage systems represent the pinnacle of efficiency. While most civilizations struggle to organize their information, the Kaminoans have created vast archives where genetic codes and scientific data are cataloged with meticulous precision. Their archives don't just store information, they help predict future possibilities. What truly sets Kaminoan civilization apart is their vision of perfection. Where others see limitations, they see variables to be adjusted. When faced with problems, they don't look for quick fixes. They redesign the entire system to eliminate the flaw. It's an approach that's given them not just scientific advancement, but a unique perspective on existence itself. Their contribution to galactic history extends far beyond the Clone Wars. The Kaminoans have shown us what's possible when a civilization dedicates itself to pushing the boundaries of science. In their floating cities, among their gleaming laboratories, they've created something unique. A society where the pursuit of perfection isn't just a goal, it's a way of life. As you watch their scientists work, moving with practiced grace between rows of genetic samples, you can't help but wonder what's next. In a civilization that's already achieved what most would consider impossible, what new horizons are they quietly exploring in those pristine laboratories above the storms? The legacy of Kamino isn't just in the armies they've created or the scientific boundaries they've pushed. It's in showing us that there's no limit to what dedicated minds can achieve. In their endless pursuit of perfection, they've built more than just cities above the waves. They've created a testament to the power of focused ambition and scientific devotion. Money, power, and influence. Every civilization seeks these things, but none have mastered them quite like the Hutts. On the swamp world of Nalhata, you'll find an empire built not on military might or technological advancement, but on something far more enduring: the art of the deal. Centuries pass like seasons for the Hutts. When you can live for over 1,000 years, you start to see business opportunities that other species might miss. Crime lords? That's putting it too simply. The Hutts have transformed illegal enterprise into a sophisticated civilization that operates more like a Fortune 500 company than a gang of outlaws. The first thing you notice about Nalhata, their adopted homeworld, is that everything's for sale. Wandering through their palatial compounds, you might mistake them for simple displays of wealth. Look closer. Each elaborate decoration, each seemingly excessive luxury, tells a story of power and sends a message to both allies and rivals. It's like walking through a corporate headquarters where every golden fixture screams, "We're successful, and we want you to know it." Those infamous Hutt palaces, they're not just homes. They're command centers of vast criminal networks. Picture Wall Street trading floors mixed with Renaissance courts, where information is the real currency, and every conversation could be worth millions. Data flows through these halls like water, turning rumors into credits and secrets into power. Most beings measure success in credits or territory. The Hutts think bigger. Their true currency is influence, traded through a complex web of favors and obligations that spans generations. A deal made with a Hutt today might not show its true value for decades, and that's exactly how they like it. They're playing the long game in a galaxy where most can barely plan past next week. Inside their society, everything operates on carefully observed protocols that have evolved over millennia. Young Hutts don't just learn how to run criminal enterprises. They inherit centuries of accumulated knowledge about manipulation, negotiation, and the delicate art of knowing when to show mercy and when to make examples. Think of it as the galaxy's most dangerous business school, where every lesson could mean the difference between enormous wealth and a quick end. The Hutt cartel itself defies simple description. It's not just a criminal organization. It's an alternate economy, complete with its own laws, customs, and justice system. They've created a shadow civilization that sometimes operates more efficiently than the governments trying to stop them. While others wage wars with armies, the Hutts wage them with accountants and information brokers. Their relationship with other species is fascinatingly complex. In Hutt space, you'll find everyone from smugglers to legitimate merchants, all operating under an unwritten code that's as rigid as any legal system. Break a deal with a Hutt? You're not just crossing one crime lord. You're violating protocols that have kept their civilization functioning for thousands of years. Entertainment plays a surprising role in their power structure. Those elaborate parties and infamous pleasure palaces serve a deeper purpose. They're where real business happens, while guests indulge in exotic delicacies and watch expensive entertainment. The Hutts are orchestrating deals that will reshape entire sectors of space. It's like hosting the world's most dangerous cocktail party, where every conversation has stakes in the millions. Their governing structure might seem chaotic to outsiders, but there's a sophisticated order to it. Different Hutt clans control different aspects of their empire, competing and cooperating in an intricate dance that's been going on for generations. They understand something most never grasp. True power isn't about controlling everything. It's about making everyone come to you when they need something done. Speaking of time, Hutts measure it differently than most. When you can easily live for over 1,000 years, revenge can wait decades and investments can mature over centuries. They'll patiently watch rivals rise and fall, waiting for the perfect moment to strike or support. It's like playing chess, where you can take years to make a single move. The way they handle technology tells you everything about their priorities. You won't find them developing new hyperdrive systems or building superior weapons. Instead, they invest in communication networks, encryption systems, and surveillance technology. They know the real power isn't in making things. It's in controlling how things move from place to place. Their architecture reflects this philosophy perfectly. Hutt palaces aren't just built to impress. They're designed to intimidate, to disorient visitors, while providing defenders with every advantage. Each room is a stage where careful choreography of power plays out daily. The throne rooms where Hutts conduct business aren't just gaudy displays. They're psychological weapons designed to remind everyone exactly who's in charge. What's truly remarkable about Hutt civilization is how they've turned their physical limitations into advantages. They may move slowly, but their influence spreads at light speed. They might seem vulnerable, but try to attack a Hutt, and you'll find yourself dealing with bounty hunters from 12 systems and trade sanctions from 20 more. Their legacy in the galaxy isn't built on great inventions or military conquests. Instead, they've created something perhaps more powerful, a shadow economy that operates in parallel with legitimate commerce, filling needs that official channels can't or won't handle. They don't need to control the galaxy because they've made themselves essential to how it functions. Understanding Hutt civilization means understanding power in its purest form. They've built an empire not on resources or territory, but on knowing exactly what everyone wants and being the ones who can provide it for a price. In their palaces and trading halls, they've created a system where everything is negotiable, but the house always wins. After all, in a galaxy full of beings rushing to their next big score, the Hutts have mastered the ultimate luxury: patience. They know that real power isn't about what you can grab today. It's about what you can control forever. Those glowing eyes in the shadows of a hood might be the galaxy's greatest misdirection. While most see simple scavengers, the Jawas have built something extraordinary. A civilization that turns other people's trash into an art form. Forget what you think you know about their massive sand crawlers. These aren't just vehicles, they're mobile cities, engineering marvels that would impress even the most sophisticated mechanics. Standing as tall as a 5-story building and nearly as long as a cargo freighter, each sandcrawler is a testament to Jawa ingenuity. These behemoths cruise across the desert like ships on sand, housing entire communities while serving as moving workshops, marketplaces, and homes. Inside a sandcrawler is where the real magic happens. Picture the world's most elaborate workshop combined with a trading post and a recycling center. Every inch of space serves multiple purposes, with mechanisms that would puzzle most engineers. The Jawas don't just repair technology, they reimagine it. A broken moisture vaporator might become parts for 3 different devices, though buyers should always beware of their sometimes temporary fixes. Their knowledge of technology goes way deeper than most realize. While others might see a pile of broken droids, a Jawa sees infinite possibilities. They can spot a valuable component from 50 paces, and they know exactly how to extract it without damaging the surrounding systems. It's like they have a 6th sense for machinery. They don't just understand how things work, they understand how things could work. The famous trading language of the Jawas tells you everything about how clever they really are. Those rapid-fire sounds that seem like random chittering, it's actually a highly efficient way to discuss complex technical specifications and bargaining terms. They can describe an entire droid's worth of components in the time it takes most beings to say hello. Each Jawa clan has its own territory and specialties, but they've worked out something fascinating. A network of trade routes and salvage rights that's as complex as any corporate distribution system. They know exactly when and where to find the best salvage, tracking sandstorm patterns and shipping lanes with remarkable precision. It's like they've memorized a map that's constantly changing. Their relationship with Tatooine's harsh environment showcases their adaptability. Those hooded robes aren't just for show. They're practical garments that shield them from the sun and sand, while providing storage for their tools and devices. Looking at how they organize their society gives you a glimpse of their true sophistication. Each sandcrawler operates like a combination of a family business and a small town. Everyone has their role. Scouts who spot valuable salvage, mechanics who repair and repurpose finds, and traders who negotiate deals. It's all coordinated with an efficiency that would make most corporations jealous. The way Jawas approach bargaining reveals another layer of their civilization. What looks like aggressive haggling to outsiders is actually a carefully choreographed dance of negotiation. They understand something fundamental about commerce. Sometimes the real value of a trade isn't in the items exchanged, but in the relationships built during the bargaining. Their recycling techniques would revolutionize waste management on most worlds. Nothing goes to waste in Jawa hands. They've developed methods to repurpose materials that others would consider worthless. A broken hyperdrive motivator might end up powering several moisture vaporators, while its casing becomes armor plating for their sandcrawler. Its sustainability elevated to an art form. Most fascinating is how they've turned their small size into an advantage. Those tiny hands can reach places others can't, allowing them to access and repair components that would stump larger beings. When you combine this with their intimate knowledge of machinery, you start to understand how they can keep their ancient sandcrawlers running perfectly across endless dunes. The Jawa communication network is another hidden marvel. They've developed a system for sharing information about valuable salvage, dangerous areas, and trading opportunities across Tatooine and nearby trade routes. News travels between clans faster than you might imagine possible on a desert world. It's like they've built their own version of a local trading network, using methods perfectly suited to their needs. Their talent for innovation shows in how they modify their equipment. A Jawa's tools aren't just repaired, they're constantly improved. They add features, combine functions, and create new solutions that the original manufacturers never imagined. Watch a Jawa repair crew at work, and you'll see tools that look cobbled together, but work with incredible precision. The educational system within Jawa society is particularly clever. Young Jawas learn by doing, apprenticed to different specialists within their clan. They don't just learn how to fix things. They learn how to see the potential in everything they encounter. It's like attending a technical school where every day brings a new engineering challenge. What they've managed to achieve with their sandcrawlers deserves special attention. These salvaged mining vehicles aren't just transportation. They're mobile civilizations that they've adapted for water recycling, power generation, and climate control. Each one is a self-contained ecosystem that can support dozens of Jawas for months without resupply. The legacy of the Jawas isn't in grand buildings or powerful weapons. It's in their ability to keep civilization running, even in the harshest conditions. They're the ultimate recyclers, the supreme salvagers, but those terms don't do justice to what they've really accomplished. They've created a sustainable civilization in one of the galaxy's most unforgiving environments, all while being dismissed as simple scavengers by those who don't look closely enough. In their glowing eyes and hidden inventiveness, we see a reflection of something profound. That true civilization isn't about building new things, but about understanding how to make the most of what already exists. The Jawas haven't just survived on Tatooine, they've mastered it, one piece of salvage at a time. Racing across endless dunes on their banthas, faces wrapped against stinging sand, the Tusken Raiders have mastered an art few others have even attempted, turning one of the galaxy's harshest deserts into their strength. Most civilizations build walls to keep nature out. The Tuskens? They've done something far more remarkable. They've learned to thrive by adapting to Tatooine's brutal environment rather than fighting it. Their entire way of life is a masterclass in desert survival that would humble even the most seasoned wilderness experts. Through their eyes, Tatooine's vast wastes aren't empty at all. Where others see only sand and rock, Tusken Raiders read stories in the landscape. Every dune shift, every wind pattern, every subtle change in the sand's texture carries meaning. They've developed an understanding of their environment so precise it almost seems supernatural to outsiders. Those distinctive wrappings aren't just for show or simple protection. They're sophisticated survival gear, perfected over generations. Each layer serves multiple purposes, filtering air, preserving moisture, protecting against sun damage. It's such an effective design that it hasn't needed significant changes in centuries. Why improve on perfection? Watching a Tusken tribe make camp is like witnessing a carefully choreographed dance that's been refined over countless generations. Every member knows their role. Every task has its proper time and method. Their temporary settlements might look simple, but they're marvels of efficient design, built to provide maximum protection with minimal resources. Popular culture often portrays them as simple raiders, but that misses the sophisticated culture hiding behind those masked faces. Their system of tribal laws and customs is incredibly complex, governing everything from water rights to hunting grounds. Every gesture, every sound they make carries layers of meaning that outsiders rarely grasp. The bond between Tuskens and their banthas reveals something profound about their civilization. These aren't just mounts or beasts of burden, they're partners in survival. Each warrior is paired with their bantha for life, developing a connection so deep it shapes their entire culture. It's like watching an ancient pact between species play out in real time. Their approach to combat tells you everything about how they think. Those famous gaffy sticks aren't just weapons, They're multi-purpose tools designed for desert survival. In Tusken hands, these primitive weapons become extensions of their bodies, equally useful for hunting, fighting, or testing the ground's stability before making camp. Water isn't just a resource in Tusken culture. It's sacred. Their entire civilization revolves around its collection, conservation, and fair distribution. They've developed hundreds of techniques for finding and preserving water that would impress even the most skilled survival experts. Each tribe maintains detailed mental maps of every water source in their territory, passed down through oral tradition with near-perfect accuracy. The way they educate their young shows the true depth of their culture. Tusken children don't just learn survival skills. They inherit an entire way of perceiving the desert. Every lesson is both practical and spiritual, teaching not just how to survive, but how to be part of the desert's eternal rhythm. It's like attending the galaxy's most intensive environmental education program, where failure isn't an option. The seasonal migrations of Tusken tribes aren't random wanderings. They follow carefully planned routes that have been refined over centuries, timing their movements to the planet's rhythms. They know exactly when certain areas will have water, when others will be too dangerous, and how to maximize their resources at every stop. Their navigation skills would put most starship pilots to shame. Looking at how they process food and materials shows another level of their expertise. Nothing is wasted. Every part of their hunt is used. Every scrap of material serves multiple purposes. They've developed preservation techniques that allow them to store food and water for months in conditions that would spoil supplies in hours. Their spiritual beliefs aren't separate from their survival skills. They're two sides of the same credit chip. Every practical technique has its spiritual component. Every ritual has its practical application. They don't just survive in the desert. They've created a complete worldview that makes sense of their harsh environment. Trading with other Tusken tribes involves protocols so complex they'd confuse a diplomatic droid. It's not just about exchanging goods. It's about maintaining relationships, respecting territories, and preserving the delicate balance that keeps their civilization functioning in such extreme conditions. The way they've adapted technology to their needs reveals their pragmatic wisdom. They're not technophobes, they're selective adopters. Any technology they use must prove its worth in their environment and way of life. A moisture vaporator might be stripped for parts, not because they don't understand it, but because they've found better ways to get water. Most fascinating is how they maintain their cultural identity while adapting to changes around them. As Tatooine has transformed over centuries, the Tuskens have adjusted their territories and techniques without losing their core principles. It's like watching a living example of how a civilization can remain true to itself while evolving to meet new challenges. Inside their temporary camps, you'll find evidence of sophisticated craftsmanship. Every tool, every container, every piece of equipment is designed to serve multiple functions while remaining easy to transport. Their material culture isn't primitive. It's perfectly adapted to a mobile lifestyle in extreme conditions. The legacy of the Tusken Raiders isn't written in buildings or technology. It's carved into the very desert they call home. They've created something rare in the galaxy, a civilization that thrives not by dominating its environment, but by becoming one with it. In their rapt faces and haunting calls across the dunes, we see a people who have turned survival itself into an art form. Beneath the towering trees of Endor's forest moon, a civilization thrives that turned the galaxy's expectations upside down. Small? Yes. Primitive. That's where everyone made their first mistake. Consider this. While the Empire was building Death Stars, the Ewoks were developing something far more sustainable, a society in harmony with their forest environment. Those massive trees aren't just their home. They're the foundation of an entire civilization that operates in ways most advanced societies never consider. Warriors barely 3 feet tall managed to defeat the galaxy's most powerful military force. Yet the real story isn't about that famous battle. It's about the incredible ingenuity that made such a victory possible in the first place. Each Ewok village stands as testament to their resourceful building methods developed over generations of forest life. Moving through their treetop settlements reveals an intricate network of bridges, platforms, and pulley systems built from forest materials. Without a single power tool or modern fastener, these resourceful builders have created villages that can withstand both invasion and fierce storms their moon produces. Tree houses? Hardly. Each Ewok dwelling is carefully crafted from natural materials. Vines and wood are woven and shaped into structures that blend seamlessly with the branches themselves. The way they integrate their homes into the living trees ensures both stability and sustainability, something many advanced civilizations still struggle to achieve. Understanding their tool-making process shows remarkable practical ingenuity. From simple vines and stones, they create effective weapons capable of taking down armored vehicles. It's not about the materials. It's about the clever ways they combine them. The same hands that weave basic rope also construct catapults and traps that proved devastatingly effective. Observing their hunting techniques reveals layers of practical knowledge that most observers miss entirely. Those spears and arrows aren't just simple weapons. They're part of well-planned group strategies that turn their small size into an advantage. When Ewoks hunt, they're not just gathering food. They're executing coordinated operations with impressive efficiency. Among the branches of their forest home, communication networks span impressive distances. Using drums, horns, and forest sounds, they can share messages across their territory effectively. Their language of beats and calls isn't just communication. It's a practical system that keeps their communities connected. Survival skills? These forest dwellers have mastered their environment through generations of experience. Ewok children learn to read weather patterns and natural signs from an early age, helping their communities prepare for and adapt to changing conditions. Delve into their social structure and you'll find an organization that's anything but simple. Each village operates as an independent unit while maintaining complex alliances with others, creating a web of relationships that ensures both autonomy and mutual support. Their tribal council system might look basic on the surface, but it encompasses levels of diplomatic nuance that serve their society well. Despite never developing advanced technology, their herbal medicine knowledge is notable. Using materials found in their forest, Ewok healers have developed treatments for various ailments. Their understanding of natural remedies comes from generations of practical experience and careful observation. Gliding through their forest canopy, you'll spot clever systems of ropes and pulleys that serve as their version of turbolifts and transport networks. These aren't just simple rope bridges. They're practical transportation systems that move supplies, warriors, and entire hunting parties through the treetops. Every vine has a purpose. Every platform is positioned thoughtfully. Manufacturing in Ewok society showcases their practical ingenuity. Without forges or factories, they've developed methods to create tools and weapons that serve their needs effectively. Watch an Ewok craftsman at work, and you'll see someone who understands materials through generations of handed-down knowledge and experience. The way they preserve and pass down knowledge demonstrates a practical approach to education. Young Ewoks learn through a combination of experience and oral tradition that ensures vital skills and information survive through generations. Their stories aren't just entertainment. They're practical guides that contain generations of accumulated wisdom. Festivals and ceremonies in Ewok society serve multiple purposes beyond simple celebration. These gatherings are simultaneously social bonds, educational opportunities, and strategic planning sessions. What might look like simple tribal dances to outsiders often contain important information about hunting grounds, seasonal changes, and territorial boundaries. Resource management in their society shows practical wisdom. Nothing is wasted, everything is repurposed, and their harvest methods ensure forest resources remain sustainable. They've developed techniques for food preservation that allow them to maintain supplies through difficult seasons. Combat tactics? The Ewoks have developed fighting methods that turn every aspect of their forest home into a potential weapon. Their traps and ambush techniques show remarkable creativity and practical effectiveness, developed through generations of protecting their territory. Without writing or computers, they've created a knowledge storage system based on songs, stories, and practical demonstration that's remarkably resilient. Every Ewok carries in their memory pieces of vital information that, when combined with others' knowledge, forms a complete picture of their civilization's accumulated wisdom. Their craft-making techniques demonstrate a practical understanding gained through careful observation and experimentation. Their woven structures and weapons show the results of generations of trial and error, refined through practical experience. The greatest achievement of Ewok civilization isn't their victory over the Empire. It's their creation of a sustainable society that thrives without depleting or destroying their environment. In their treetop villages and forest pathways, they've built something that many advanced civilizations still strive for: a way of life that enriches rather than exhausts their world. Suspended in the crystal depths of Mon Cala's vast oceans, architectural wonders float like dreams made real. Let me share something remarkable about the Mon Calamari. Their cities aren't just built underwater. They're designed to dance with the currents. Shipbuilding runs deeper than tradition in Mon Calamari society. It's quite literally in their DNA. Each vessel they create tells a story, combining art and engineering in ways that make other shipwrights question everything they know about spacecraft design. Where others see ships as mere transportation, the Mon Calamari craft vessels that double as floating works of art. Venture into one of their underwater metropolises, and you'll discover why their starships look so unique. Every building, every walkway, every architectural choice reflects their understanding of fluid dynamics. These aren't just cities that exist underwater. They're cities that harness the ocean's power. Curved surfaces channel currents to generate power, while massive shields hold back the crushing depths with elegant efficiency. Masterful engineering reveals itself in the smallest details. Each Mon Calamari cruiser incorporates design elements learned from centuries of building underwater cities. Those distinctive bubbled windows aren't just aesthetic choices. They're inspired by deep-sea architecture that efficiently distributes pressure. It's like they've taken their entire civilization's experience with water and launched it into space. Beyond the surface beauty, Mon Calamari technology tells a fascinating story of adaptation. Their ships employ unique shield geometries and hull designs that seem counterintuitive until you understand their origins. Those smooth, organic lines aren't just for show. They're born from generations of experience building structures that must withstand both crushing ocean pressures and violent storms. Technical innovation flows through their society like the currents they've mastered. Each generation of Mon Calamari engineers builds upon the work of their predecessors, yet somehow manages to add their own artistic flourish. Their shipyards are more than industrial facilities. They're a combination of art studios and engineering laboratories where the impossible becomes routine. Raw engineering talent only explains part of their success. The Mon Calamari approach to education creates not just technical experts, but visionary designers who see possibilities others miss. Young Mon Calamari learn fluid dynamics not from textbooks, but from swimming through the living examples of their cities. Every child grows up understanding instinctively how water and vessels interact. Navigating a Mon Calamari city requires thinking in 3 dimensions. Transportation networks flow up, down, and sideways with equal ease. They've created urban spaces where the concept of ground level simply doesn't exist. Their architects don't just design buildings. They choreograph how people move through space in ways that would make terrestrial city planners dizzy. Remarkably, their greatest achievement might be how they've turned their planet's challenges into advantages. Other civilizations might have seen the endless oceans as a limitation. The Mon Calamari saw them as an opportunity to develop technologies and techniques that would eventually revolutionize space travel. Each challenge solved underwater became a solution waiting to be applied to the stars. Cultural sophistication matches their technical brilliance. Mon Calamari art, music, and literature often incorporate themes of fluid motion and dynamic balance. Their entertainment venues feature performances that take full advantage of their aquatic environment. Imagine theater productions where the stage extends in all directions, and you'll begin to understand their unique perspective on artistic expression. Military strategy developed naturally from their environmental expertise. Mon Calamari commanders understand 3-dimensional combat in ways that surface-dwelling species struggle to grasp. Their contributions to the Rebel Alliance weren't just about providing ships. They brought an entirely different way of thinking about space warfare. Examining their shield technology reveals generations of innovation. The same principles that protect their cities from crushing ocean pressures evolved into defense systems that could withstand Imperial bombardment. Each advancement in civil engineering found its way into their military technology, creating vessels that were both beautiful and formidable. Patient precision characterizes their approach to manufacturing. Mon Calamari shipwrights don't just build vessels. They grow them, in a sense, carefully layering systems and structures over time. Their construction methods might seem slow to outsiders, but the results speak for themselves in durability and performance. Sustainable practices emerge naturally from their worldview. Living underwater requires a deep understanding of ecological balance. Their cities and ships incorporate recycling systems so efficient that virtually nothing goes to waste. What looks like luxury in their designs often serves crucial environmental functions. Looking at their social structure provides insight into their success. Mon Calamari society values both individual creativity and collective effort. Their engineering teams combine the vision of artists with the precision of scientists, all while maintaining a collaborative spirit that brings out the best in everyone involved. Deep space exploration gained new perspective through Mon Calamari innovation. Their experience living in an aquatic environment translated perfectly to the challenges of long-term space habitation. Life support systems on their vessels don't just maintain existence. They create comfortable, livable environments that feel natural to species from any world. Trading networks flourish through their ports, both underwater and in space. Mon Calamari cities serve as vital hubs where goods and ideas flow as freely as the currents around them. Their understanding of fluid dynamics even influences how they manage commerce, creating efficient systems for moving resources where they're needed most. Research facilities blend seamlessly into their urban landscape. Laboratories studying everything from hydrodynamics to hyperspace theory occupy spaces that double as public architecture. Science isn't isolated in Mon Calamari society. It's part of the everyday environment, visible and accessible to all. Witnessing their shipyards in action provides a glimpse into their civilization's soul. Massive vessels take shape underwater before ever touching space, tested by the same forces they'll need to resist among the stars. Each ship emerges not just as a triumph of engineering, but as a testament to Mon Calamari vision and perseverance. The legacy of Mon Calamari civilization extends far beyond their remarkable ships or beautiful cities. They've shown the galaxy that limitations exist only in the mind, that art and engineering can be one and the same, and that the challenges of one environment can inspire solutions for another. In their ocean cities and spacefaring vessels, they've created something truly unique, a civilization that dances with the forces of nature instead of fighting against them. Talk about keeping your secrets close. Yoda's species might be the most mysterious civilization in the entire galaxy. We've only ever known 3 of them: Master Yoda himself, Master Yaddle, and Little Grogu. But what we do know about them is fascinating. The first thing you'd notice about these beings is their size, though you'd quickly learn that doesn't matter much. They barely reach waist height on a human, but their connection to the Force makes physical size seem pretty irrelevant. Watch one of them lift a starship with their mind, and you'll forget all about how small they are. Their lifespans are something else entirely. While most of us measure our lives in decades, these beings count theirs in centuries. Yoda made it to 900 years old, and he was still flipping around with a lightsaber right up until the end. Imagine everything you could learn and experience with that kind of time. No wonder they tend to speak in riddles and proverbs. Age works differently for them too. Take Grogu. At 50 years old, he's still basically a toddler by their standards. This slow aging might explain why they develop such deep connections to the Force. They literally have centuries to explore and understand its mysteries. Speaking of the Force, this species seems to be naturally gifted with it in a way we rarely see. Even as babies, They show abilities that would take others years of training to master. Grogu could use the Force instinctively while still in what his species considers early childhood. It's like they're born with an understanding of the Force that the rest of us spend lifetimes trying to achieve. Their physical features are pretty consistent. Those large, expressive eyes and distinctive pointed ears show up in all three known members of the species. There's something almost familiar about their appearance, even though they're clearly not human. Maybe that's why so many beings across the galaxy felt comfortable seeking Yoda's wisdom. Nobody knows where they came from, and that's probably not by accident. Their home planet remains a complete mystery, which is pretty impressive in an age where we've mapped most of the galaxy. Are they hiding it? Did something happen to it? These questions have sparked countless theories, but answers are hard to come by. The way they interact with the Force seems unique too. While other Force users might draw on it like a tool, members of this species appear to have a more intimate relationship with it. Watch footage of Yoda in his prime, and you'll see someone who isn't just using the Force, he's practically dancing with it. Their impact on the Jedi Order can't be overstated. Yoda alone trained Jedi for centuries, meaning his understanding of the Force influenced generations of Force users. Think about that. Hundreds of years of passing on knowledge, each generation adding to what came before. His teaching methods, often seeming playful or cryptic at first, carried deep wisdom that revealed itself over time. The species seems to share a talent for teaching, though each does it in their own way. Even little Grogu, despite his age, shows signs of understanding things that go way beyond his years. There's something about living that long that gives you a different perspective on what's important and how to share that knowledge with others. Their way of thinking stands out too. That famous backwards way of speaking that Yoda was known for? We don't know if that's a species trait or just his personal style. Grogu's too young to tell us much, and we don't have enough records of Yaddle's speech patterns, but it hints at a mind that processes things differently than most species in the galaxy. Combat isn't their first choice, but when they need to fight, there's something to behold. Their size actually becomes an advantage, making them incredibly agile. Combine that with centuries of experience and their deep connection to the Force, and you've got a fighting style unlike anything else in the galaxy. These beings seem to have a particular gift for seeing the bigger picture. Makes sense when you think about it. If you live for centuries, you start to notice patterns that others might miss. They can see how current events connect to the past and might shape the future. It's not about predicting what will happen, but understanding how things flow together. Their emotional control is remarkable too. Again, living for centuries probably helps with that. They feel things deeply. You can see it in those expressive eyes of theirs, but they've learned to process emotions in a way that most beings never master. It's not about suppressing feelings, but understanding them fully. When it comes to making decisions, they take the long view. And with lifespans like theirs, that's a really long view. What might seem urgent to others gets measured against centuries of experience. It can make them seem slow to act sometimes, but there's usually wisdom in that patience. Despite how long they live, they don't seem to get stuck in their ways. Each of the three we know has their own distinct personality. Yoda could be playful one moment and deeply serious the next. Yaddle had her own approach to things, and Grogu, even as young as he is, already shows his own unique character. The rarity of their species raises all sorts of questions. Are there more of them out there? Do they naturally have such small numbers? Or did something happen to reduce their population? Their long lifespans might be nature's way of helping them survive despite their small numbers. Each individual can pass on knowledge and influence events for hundreds of years. What's clear is that this species has had an impact on galactic history far beyond their numbers. Through the Jedi Order, through individual actions, and through their unique understanding of the Force, they've helped shape events in ways we're still trying to understand. They're proof that sometimes the smallest beings can have the biggest influence on history. Deep in the Outer Rim, surrounded by murky swamps and dense jungles, stands the steel and stone civilization of the Rodians. Their world, Rodia, tells the story of how environment shapes culture and how culture shapes destiny. Survival instincts run deep in Rodian society. Before they ever looked to the stars, their ancestors competed with massive predators in Rodia's unforgiving jungles. These early experiences forged more than just survival skills. They created a cultural identity centered around the hunt that would eventually extend far beyond their homeworld. Physically adapted for their challenging environment, Rodians possess distinct features that set them apart in the galaxy. Multifaceted eyes provide exceptional peripheral vision, an advantage originally evolved for spotting predators that now serves them well in their pursuits across the stars. Their scaled green skin offers natural camouflage in Rodia's jungles, while their suction cup-tipped fingers allow for quick climbing and precise weapon handling. Hunting defines Rodian culture at its core. What began as a necessity for survival evolved into an art form, then into sport, and finally into a galactic profession. Young Rodians grow up learning tracking skills that their ancestors used to survive, though today these skills are more likely to be used in pursuing bounties than hunting jungle creatures. Traditional Rodian hunting songs, passed down through generations, now echo through spacecraft rather than swamps. Across the galaxy, mention of Rodians often brings to mind images of bounty hunters. While this reputation isn't entirely unearned, it oversimplifies a complex culture. Consider their grand theaters, where ancient hunting practices are transformed into elaborate dance performances. These performances tell stories of legendary hunts, with movements mimicking both predator and prey in an intricate ballet that draws tourists from across the sector. Technology's arrival on Rodia transformed their society but didn't erase their hunting heritage. Instead, Rodians adapted their traditional skills to modern tools. Tracking devices replaced footprint reading, but the fundamental understanding of prey behavior remained essential. Thermal imaging supplements their natural vision, but the patience learned from generations of hunters still proves invaluable. Through the lens of galactic history, Greedo stands as perhaps the most infamous Rodian. His fatal encounter with Han Solo in Mos Eisley's cantina serves as a cautionary tale, yet it represents only a small fragment of Rodian complexity. For every Greedo, there are countless Rodian artists, engineers, and entrepreneurs who've carried their species' adaptability into new ventures. Beneath Rodia's ever-present cloud cover, sprawling cities rise from the swamps on massive stilts. These metropolitan centers showcase how far the species has come from their primitive hunting societies. Transparent domes protect inhabitants from the harsh atmosphere while allowing natural light to filter through, creating an environment where modern convenience meets jungle world aesthetics. Political life on Rodia mirrors their hunting heritage in unexpected ways. Grand Protectors lead their people through a system that rewards capability and cunning, much like the hunting parties of old. These leaders must navigate both internal clan politics and galactic diplomacy with the same precision their ancestors used to track prey through dense jungle undergrowth. Rodian art tells stories of their evolution as a species. Traditional sculptures depict great hunts, while modern works often explore the tension between their hunting past and technological present. Their famous theater districts showcase performances where ancient hunting narratives blend with contemporary themes, creating something uniquely Rodian, yet universally compelling. Education in Rodian society reflects their pragmatic approach to life. Young Rodians learn both traditional tracking methods and modern technology, creating a bridge between their heritage and their future. Combat training, once essential for survival, now serves as both cultural touchstone and practical skill in a galaxy where bounty hunting provides lucrative opportunities. Family structures in Rodian society evolved from hunting bands into complex clan systems. These clans, each with their own hunting territories and specialties, now often focus on different economic ventures. Some maintain traditional hunting practices, while others have transformed those skills into security services or military consulting. The Clone Wars marked a crucial turning point for Rodian society. As their world faced hardship, many Rodians were forced to look beyond traditional occupations. This period of adaptation showed their true strength, not just as hunters, but as survivors capable of reinventing themselves while maintaining their cultural identity. Environmental consciousness shapes modern Rodian development. Their cities, despite their industrial appearance, incorporate sophisticated ecological systems derived from generations of understanding their jungle home. Water recycling systems mirror natural processes, while waste management follows patterns observed in Rodia's natural ecosystem. Among the stars, Rodian communities maintain strong connections to their heritage while embracing new opportunities. Their districts on various worlds often feature hunting-themed architecture and traditional marketplaces where modern technology meets ancestral customs. These communities serve as cultural anchors for Rodian expatriates while introducing their unique heritage to other species. Modern Rodian society grapples with questions of identity in a changing galaxy. How does a culture built on hunting adapt to an era of droids and hyperspace travel? Their answer lies in flexibility, maintaining connections to their past while embracing future opportunities. Young Rodians might train in traditional tracking methods before attending modern engineering schools, seeing both as equally valuable parts of their heritage. Looking toward the future, Rodia's influence on galactic culture continues to evolve. Their expertise in tracking and hunting translates into innovations in security systems and surveillance technology. Rodian architects apply lessons learned from generations of building in swampland to create revolutionary designs for other challenging environments across the galaxy. The story of the Rodians isn't just about hunting or bounty hunting. It's about adaptation, survival, and the balance between tradition and progress. From the swamps of their homeworld to the far reaches of the galaxy, they demonstrate how a species can honor its past while building its future. Hovering above their swampy homeworld surface, Toydarian cities paint a picture of ingenuity born from necessity. These floating metropolises, suspended in the mist-filled air of Toydaria, showcase a civilization that turned their world's challenges into advantages. Impossibly, these diminutive beings defy gravity with wings that seem too small for flight. Yet their mastery of aerial mobility shaped every aspect of their society, from architecture to commerce. Natural levitation abilities allow Toydarians to navigate their world's treacherous swamps without ever touching the ground. Beneath their gruff exterior lies one of the galaxy's most fascinating evolutionary traits: a natural resistance to force-based mental manipulation. This unique characteristic stems from their highly developed minds, which evolved to process complex calculations necessary for their constant flight. Where others might succumb to Jedi mind tricks, Toydarian minds remain stubbornly, impressively impenetrable. Merchants whisper tales of Toydarian business acumen across countless worlds. Their reputation for shrewd negotiation precedes them, exemplified by the infamous Watto of Tatooine. Though his story represents just one chapter in Toydarian history, it highlights their cultural emphasis on commercial expertise and clever dealing. Through the misty skies of their homeworld, elaborate network of floating markets showcase Toydarian culture at its finest. Merchants hover in tight formations, their wings creating gentle breezes as they haggle over prices and exchange goods. These aerial bazaars represent more than just commerce. They're living museums of Toydarian social interaction. Carefully designed architecture reflects their unique physical capabilities. Doorways sit at various heights, while corridors curve and wind in 3 dimensions. Traditional Toydarian homes feature multiple entry points at different elevations, creating spaces that seem chaotic to ground-dwelling species, but make perfect sense to these natural aerialists. Weather patterns on Toydaria demanded adaptation from its inhabitants. Frequent storms and heavy mists forced the development of sophisticated navigation skills. Modern Toydarians can instinctively adjust for wind currents and atmospheric pressure changes, skills that serve them well both at home and on other worlds. Masters of spatial awareness, Toydarians process their environment differently than most species. Their brains constantly calculate distance, wind speed, and atmospheric conditions, a natural computational power that contributes to their mental resistance to force suggestions. This inherent skill transforms their approach to everything from architecture to combat. Complex social hierarchies emerge from their aerial lifestyle. Status among Toydarians often relates to the height at which one conducts business or maintains a residence. Higher levels represent greater prestige, though this system has evolved into more subtle forms in modern times. Remarkably, their civilization developed without dependence on ground-based agriculture. Toydarian farmers cultivate floating gardens using sophisticated hydroponic systems that predate their contact with the wider galaxy. These aerial farms produce unique varieties of floating fruits and vegetables adapted to their world's conditions. Beyond their homeworld, Toydarian communities maintain distinct cultural practices while adapting to new environments. Even in ground-based cities on other planets, they construct multi-level spaces that allow for their natural flying abilities. Their settlements often feature hanging gardens and elevated marketplaces, recreating pieces of their homeworld wherever they go. Political discussions in Toydarian society traditionally take place in flight. Important negotiations occur during elaborate aerial ceremonies, where participants hover in specific formations that indicate their role and status. This tradition continues even in modern diplomatic settings, though sometimes modified for the comfort of non-flying participants. Technology integration into Toydarian society follows unique patterns. While they readily adopt new innovations, they modify everything to accommodate their three-dimensional lifestyle. Their computers feature floating displays that can be accessed from multiple angles, while their vehicles often serve as portable platforms rather than traditional transportation. Educating young Toydarians involves more than academic subjects. Children learn complex aerial maneuvers alongside mathematics and science, developing the physical and mental skills necessary for their society. These lessons often take place in floating classrooms that move through their cities, teaching practical applications alongside theory. Survival skills remain crucial in Toydarian culture. Despite their technological advancement, every child learns to navigate through heavy storms and handle the worst weather their homeworld can produce. These skills, passed down through generations, ensure their species' continued adaptation to their challenging environment. Art in Toydarian culture embraces movement and space in unusual ways. Their sculptures float and rotate, creating different perspectives as viewers fly around them. Traditional Toydarian music incorporates the sound of wing beats and wind patterns, creating compositions that can only be fully appreciated in flight. Manufacturing sectors in Toydarian cities operate on multiple levels simultaneously. Assembly lines move vertically as well as horizontally, with workers flying between tasks in carefully choreographed patterns. This unique approach to industry has led to innovations in production methods across the galaxy. Resource management presents unique challenges in their floating cities. Water and power distribution systems must account for constant movement and varying elevations. Toydarian engineers developed sophisticated methods for maintaining stable resource networks throughout their mobile communities. Cultural festivals celebrate their aerial heritage with stunning displays of coordinated flight. Hundreds of Toydarians move through precise patterns, creating living art in the sky. These celebrations attract visitors from across the galaxy, though few can fully participate in the aerial aspects of these events. Looking toward the future, Toydarian influence on galactic architecture and urban planning continues to grow. Their expertise in three-dimensional space utilization offers solutions for overcrowded worlds seeking to expand upward. Their unique perspective contributes to innovations in everything from space station design to planetary development. The story of the Toydarians demonstrates how physical characteristics shape civilization. Their ability to fly and resist force manipulation isn't just about individual capabilities. It's about how an entire species adapted and thrived, creating a rich culture that continues to influence the galaxy in unexpected ways. At first glance, you'd see a sea of identical faces on Kamino's rain-soaked platforms. But the clone army was far more than just soldiers. They built something remarkable, their own unique civilization. You might think clones would be carbon copies of each other in every way, but spend any time with them, and you'd discover each one had their own personality. Even sharing the same genes couldn't stop them from becoming distinct individuals, each with their own quirks and ways of thinking. Life moved at double speed for these troops. Growing up twice as fast as regular humans meant clone society had to adapt quickly. Younger clones would often turn to their more experienced brothers for guidance, even though technically they were all the same age. It created an interesting dynamic where experience mattered more than actual years lived. The bonds between clones went deeper than their shared DNA. They started customizing their appearance. A unique tattoo here, a battle scar there, personal armor designs, all little ways they showed who they were as individuals. Other clones could read these personal touches like a book, understanding the stories behind each mark. Every clone unit had its own personality. The 501st just felt different from the 212th Attack Battalion. They developed their own inside jokes, traditions, and ways of doing things. It wasn't just about military efficiency. These differences made each unit special to the clones who served in them. During downtime, clone culture really came alive. Some guys became known as the best cooks in their unit, while others were the go-to mechanics or artists. They found countless ways to stand out, even with a million identical faces around them. The clones even created their own language of sorts. They came up with words and phrases that only made sense if you'd lived their experience. Try explaining shiny to someone who'd never seen a new clone trooper's spotless armor or the deep meaning behind calling another clone brother. Their art was something special too. From personalizing armor to painting murals in the barracks, clones found ways to express themselves visually. They mixed elements from their Mandalorian heritage, picked up from Jango Fett's DNA, with their own unique style, creating something entirely new. Names meant everything in clone culture. Switching from a number to a chosen name like Rex or Cody wasn't just about convenience. It was about becoming an individual. Each name had a story behind it, often reflecting a clone's personality or something they'd lived through. Clone commanders earned respect differently than other military leaders. Sure, rank mattered, but the best leaders understood what made each of their troops unique. They knew when to be a commander and when to be a brother. The relationships between clones were complicated in the best way. Squad mates became closer than family, helping each other cope with their rapid aging and the stress of constant warfare. These weren't just bonds of convenience, they were genuine connections that kept them going through the toughest times. Their medical system was unique too. Clone medics didn't just understand standard human biology, they knew the ins and outs of their specialized genetic makeup. They developed their own treatments and procedures, specifically tailored to their accelerated aging and combat lifestyle. Many clones became serious students of history and science during their free time. Their quick minds, another gift from Jango Fett's genes, drove them to learn about more than just warfare. This curiosity added rich layers to their growing culture. They even put their own spin on sports and games. These activities combined their military precision with friendly competition, letting them have fun while staying sharp. It was another way they built bonds between brothers. Some clones developed deep philosophical and religious beliefs, while some embraced Mandalorian warrior culture. Others created their own ways of understanding their unique place in the galaxy. These beliefs helped them face the big questions about who they were and why they existed. Clone troops constantly tweaked their gear to match their personal fighting styles. They kept things standardized enough to work as a unit, but added personal touches that made their equipment feel like their own. Stories were currency in clone society. With their shortened lifespans, they made sure to pass down their experiences to newer troops. These weren't just war stories. They were the building blocks of their heritage, growing richer with each battle. The clone civilization proves something important. Even people created to be identical will find ways to become unique. Their shared foundation didn't limit their individuality. It gave them a launching pad to become something more than their creators ever imagined.